Welcome everybody. We're here today to talk a bit about baby and child first aid. The most important session that we're going to be going through this morning, that we're going to focus on this first part of the morning, is baby CPR, okay, infant CPR. With first aid, there is different techniques that we use for baby, child and adult first aid, and it is all to do basically with the size of our casualty. Okay. Just a bit of housekeeping I got it before we start. The toilets, if anyone needs them, out the door, down the corridor and turn right. There isn't supposed to be a fire drill today, so if you do hear the bells, then please exit swiftly and safely, leaving your belongings behind, unless they are very easy grabbing distance. All of that can be replaced. None of you can. So anyone with mobile phones, please switch them to silent. If you are expecting an important call, then please take it outside so everyone else is not disturbed. And if there's anything I can fill you in if you've missed it, I certainly will do. Also, anyone that needs to smoke on the smoking break, please not inside the building. There is a designated area outside the front of the hotel. Also, as we're on the first floor, please don't use the lifts, and in case of a fire, please use the stairs. Okay, so that's my housekeeping bit all done and out of the way. So I love questions. Please do not wait for the question section to ask your questions, okay? I'm more than happy for you to interject if there's something that you don't quite understand, or you want it clarified for you. It's really important that you don't think, I'll ask her that when she stops talking, because I generally don't. I just keep going, and I will do for the next however long. So everyone always starts their question to me with, I know it's a silly question, but it's not a silly question if you want to know the answer to it. I'm pretty sure I've been asked it before. I have 2 children, I'm used to being asked silly questions a lot of the time, so please do make sure you leave the session feeling you've got the most out of it as possible. Okay, although the session I'm going to talk about this morning is infant CPR, I'm going to start with what was called our primary survey. This primary survey is for first aid for someone of any age, okay? It's our considerations, what we should first and foremost be thinking about and what we should first and foremost be treating. Although I said obviously we have baby, child and adult first aid, this initial primary survey, as I said, is for any casualty, okay? In a panic situation, the hard thing is thinking, what do I do? What do I do first? What should I be dealing with? Okay, so this primary survey, which we call our Doctor ABC, gives us something to focus on, helps us try and remain a little bit calm, which is very important for a first aider, to think, what should I do first and what should I be treating first? Okay, so Dr. ABC, the D of our Dr. ABC, the first thing we need to consider is danger, okay? Obviously you are thinking about your casualty, especially if this is something that's happened in front of you, a horrible situation. I certainly find when it involves babies and children that your instinct, even if you're not a parent, is to rush and help the casualty. However, if you end up injuring yourself whilst trying to help a casualty, then we have 2 casualties and possibly nobody to help, okay? So although it's hard to think that, especially when it comes to children, the first consideration of danger has to be for yourself, okay? Is it safe for me to help? We're not asking for this to be a really long-winded check. This is a 2-second check just to observe to see, is it safe for me to rush in? Am I going to get injured doing that? Do I have to consider then the safety of the casualty? We don't like to move casualties unnecessarily, but if they are going to be in further danger where they are, we are going to have to consider moving them. People are very worried and obsessed a little bit about head and neck injuries and making things worse, but if you have a casualty who may have fallen down a flight of stairs, but there is a burning fire, however you get them out, not worrying about their head and neck, basically, so we have to consider that. So, danger to ourselves first. Is it safe for us to help? Is it safe for us to then treat the casualty where they are? And then also, is there anyone else in the area who might be in danger? You may have more than one child. There'll be more people in that area. And if there is something like broken glass or a spilt liquid, making sure that we minimise casualties, keeping casualties to the minimum is what we want as well. So that's why it's our first and foremost consideration, our danger. Our first bit of our Dr. ABC. After that is response. Okay? The R stands for response. How the casualty is responding tells us a lot. I know human nature tells that someone screaming, shouting or crying out in pain is not a good thing. But in first aid terms, if you can scream, shout or cry, you can breathe, okay? I know as parents we never want to hear our children in pain, hurt, but actually if they're making any kind of sound, that they're screaming, shouting, talking, crying, they have an airway, okay? If they are not responding, that feeling I'm sure of the, are they just asleep? Should they be doing that? we need to try and then make them respond, okay? A response check, basically our response check is to establish if the casualty is conscious or unconscious, and we want to quickly find that out as quickly as possible. If we have a casualty who is unresponsive, our response check is usually done with what we call a shake and shout, okay? If they're unresponsive, we would want to call for help at this stage. This is not call as in pick up the telephone. This is shout out and hope a bystander will come to your aid so that you can focus on what the casualty and someone else might be able to go and get emergency aid for you. So shout out for help. After we've established if there's any danger for us and if the casualty is responding, if they're conscious or not. If we have an unconscious casualty, our treatment priorities are A, B, C. A being airway, our magic A. The most important thing, the first thing our casualty, we want to find about a casualty is their airway. Checking and giving the casualty an airway. Many of you who've never, or any people who've never done first aid before, may have seen in some kind of TV program or film, tilting a casualty's head back, okay? Tilting a casualty's head back, an unconscious person's head back, could save their life, because it gives them their A for airway, okay? What can happen when a casualty is laying on their back? They're predisposed to vomiting, and they would choke on that vomit if they were unconscious, but also the tongue rolling, relaxing back, covering over the airway, tilting that head back. The mechanism like this means that the tongue can no longer lay flat over the airway. Yes, Caroline?
So what if when you find your casualty they're not lying on their back, do you try and move them to a different position so you can tilt their head back?
You've always got to be able to check on their breathing successfully. So if they are face down and you can't check very well on their breathing, or if they're breathing properly or normally, we would need to turn them to a position where we do that. Obviously, like I said, we're worried about aggravating injuries, but if you can't check on someone's airway, that's your first and foremost concern, okay? So after we've given the airway with what we call as a head lift chin tilt, cupping the forehead, supporting underneath the chin, tilting that head bit back, which opens up that airway as far as we know, okay? It extends the airway. Even if you tilt your own head up, like this, if you want to have a go, you can feel that your airway's far more open, okay? So after our A for airway, anyone want to hazard a guess what our B stands for? Okay. Breathing, absolutely. We want to find out pretty quickly if our casualty is breathing. I wrote a bit like a doctor, I do apologise. Okay, so a breathing check, very, very important. We don't try and check for a pulse, so this breathing check is very, very important. The breathing check is done with the head tilted back, I say, making sure the head is tilted back in the neutral position so the airway is open, and we look, listen and feel for normal breathing for up to 10 seconds, a maximum of 10 seconds, to establish if the casualty is breathing on their own. If the casualty is breathing on their own, even if they are unconscious, we will say that they have circulation. Okay? Circulation is us breathing oxygen into our bodies. It goes from our lungs into our bloodstream and being transferred around our body by our heart beating. That is what's keeping us all alive and happy at the moment, and long may it continue. Once we've established that casualty has a circulation by the fact that they are breathing on their own, what this C also stands for, I'm going to change the colour of my pen because it's appropriate, controlling major bleeds. Our priorities always remain in this order. Does the casualty have an airway first? Even if the casualty was bleeding, it is a major concern of ours, I do understand, but if you're the lone first aider, your priorities are always to check the casualty's airway and breathing first. Okay, yes?
So which one would you do first? Control the breathe or the check their airway or see if they're breathing?
Always remains airway first, breathing, and then circulation. Okay, it's hard, because blood is very visual, you see it, you want to stop it, and obviously if you could perhaps hold something, or certainly if there's a bystander, so you could say, hold this on there please, but as the first aider you've got to think that your priorities always remain A, B, C. Okay, so this primary survey just gives us something to help focus what are the most important things, what should I be checking on first, and what I should be treating first. Okay, anybody, any questions on that Dr. ABC before I move on to our infant baby CPR? Brilliant. Okay, so if I can get the technology to work, I do hope. Hey, there you go. So, CPR or BLS, basic life support, we're going to look for particularly the technique for an infant or a baby. An infant or a baby, when it comes to first aid terms, is naught, so newborn, up to 1 year old. I do understand those who've had children that when you have a 13, 14, 15-month-old, they are still your babies. But as a first aider, we have these parameters, and for the first year, we would class that as our baby or an infant casualty, and this is what we would be, this procedure I'm going to show you now, how we would treat that. Okay, so, just moving. Okay, when I've come over to my casualty, sorry, I'm going to get my casualty onto the floor, here. The first consideration is obviously our Dr. ABC, so I'll be checking for danger. Often with babies, hopefully, most of the time they're where we put them. I know that does change as they get a bit older. So I think although people are generally worried about aggravated injuries, I think with a baby the first thing you do naturally is pick them up. Okay, that is okay, it's part of your treat. But if we can leave the casualty where they are, obviously if they're in a cot, we are going to have to get them out somewhere where it's safe to check them. Okay, then how the casualty is responding. My baby isn't screaming, shouting or crying. So I'm a bit worried. I'm sure that new parent thing of listening to the breathing worry. I think naturally what we would do would be call our child. As I mentioned previously, we call it a shake and shout. However, we should never shake a baby. Okay, so the safe way to get a response from a baby is calling them. That's one way. Your hearing for an unconscious person is the last thing to go and the first to come back. So it's a really important tool. Although it's a natural thing to do, it has a really good. So get close to baby. Come on, sweetheart. Open your eyes. Can you hear me? Come on, darling. Calling them, getting close to those ears. Looking for response in the face. The eyes to flicker, the mouth to move or open to establish that this is not a fully unconscious casualty. Blowing in a baby's face. Come on, darling. Can you hear me? Is also another good way to get a response. If your casualty isn't responding and it's a baby, we all know we're not supposed to shake babies, but in our panic, without even realising possibly how strong we're doing with the adrenaline pumping around our bodies, we may find ourselves doing this before too long. Obviously shaking a baby is very dangerous. It's very dangerous and cause brain damage, okay? So one way that is safe to call the baby if you're getting to that stage where you're thinking calling and blowing is perhaps not enough, on the foot, tickling and tapping baby's foot. If you hold onto baby's ankle and tap the foot quite firmly, okay, they might open their eyes and cry. You'd be over the moon to hear them cry at this stage. So tickling or tapping or a blow to the foot to basically work out, establish for sure if this is an unconscious or a conscious baby. Okay. Yes.
So at what point would you have called someone or tried to get an ambulance to come?
At this point, now I've established my baby is unconscious, I would shout for help. Even if I think no one can hear me, I would always shout out in case. Even if I was a parent home alone, you just never know. It's worth that shout. And I think if you've just found your child to be unresponsive, you probably want to shout, so it's satisfied that as well. Okay, so is this a responsive casualty? In this case, no. So someone help, please help me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and call for an ambulance now though. I'm going to start my ABC check. So my first check, as we said, is our airway check. So we need to open our airway. Head lift, chin tilt. The one thing you've probably seen before, like I said on the TV, is tilting the head right back. That is absolutely fine when you are over 1. If you're not over 1, so you're an infant or a baby, tilting the head right back actually overextends the airway and can close it off, which is completely opposite with what we want to be doing. We want a nice open airway. So with a baby, we do need to tilt the head back because we still need to get that mechanism so that the tongue is up and out of the way. We call it, a nice way I've heard it before, it's called a sniff of the morning air. Okay, this is about as much as we want. It doesn't smell this good, okay? It's just a small sniff. We want the mouth to be pointing up towards the ceiling. We don't want to be extending the head all the way back and overextending that airway because it's dangerous for the baby. If you're cupping the forehead and using a finger or two, depending on the size of the baby, make sure it's just on the tip of their chin so you're not pushing the soft tissue underneath their chin backwards. Okay, so I've opened up baby's airway, and then now I'm going to check for my B for breathing. Anyone remember how long we check for breathing? What's our maximum time?
10 seconds.
Brilliant. The best way to check for breathing is with your cheek just above baby's nose and mouth, looking along baby's body. We are feeling for breaths on our cheek. Whether they are breathing out of their nose or their mouth, we'll be feeling those breaths on our cheek, hopefully. With our ear down there, we can hear the breathing, hopefully. And looking down the chest, we can hopefully see that chest rising and falling, giving us the best possible chance to establish this casualty is breathing on their own, okay? In this instance, my casualty is not breathing. The fear is really ramping up now. Even though, obviously, this is a situation, if you found yourself in it, that you'd feel that you'd want to call an ambulance with a baby or a child. If you have no help and your phone isn't right next to you, you would actually start and carry out infant CPR. You would carry this out for a minute, and I'm going to show you how we time that, how we do that, because the last thing with everything else that's going through your head and everything else you've got to think about is putting your iPhone timer on or looking at the clock, okay? So, I've established my baby is not breathing. I've checked for a maximum of 10 seconds. No help has come to my call for help, okay? So my first thing is 5 initial rescue breaths. With a baby or a child casualty, the first thing we do is put in 5 breaths. For a baby who is found in this scenario, it's much more likely that they're going to have respiratory compromise. With adults, it's much more likely to be cardiac. With a baby or a child, it's much more likely to be respiratory. So that is why we act very quickly, and we want to get some oxygen into them as quickly as possible. So, with the head tilted back and still supported in what we call this neutral position, okay? If we are putting breaths into a casualty or checking for breathing with an unconscious casualty, we always want the head in that neutral position, okay? So, I've checked for my breathing, no help has come, I'm going to start my infant CPR. Yes,
can I do this like wherever I find them, so like on the bed or on the sofa or wherever
when you're
I
checking,
am?
It's fine where you put them.
Oh, okay.
If you now realise that you are going to have to carry out CPR,
Yeah.
because they're not the most natural thing to do is check your baby and put them on the floor, is it?
No.
Or it's usually to perhaps put them on the end of your bed or maybe on the sofa.
Yeah, somewhere
However,
higher.
if we are going to have to carry out CPR, we would want the casualty down the floor. We could do it on the table, but one of my first aid things is you work on the floor, there's nowhere to fall.
Right.
Okay, so making sure it's safe, the air out, I put them down on the floor. The reason being for that, as I'm sure you're aware, chest compressions are a big part of CPR. If you have a casualty who is on a bed, on a sofa, or even some of those changing mats are very, very thick, it's hard enough to get the depth of compression that we need. So if they have a soft surface underneath them, it's going to be absorbed, you're pressing down, so making it hard. So on the floor, firm surface makes your CPR much more successful. Your chest compression is much easier to carry out and much more successful. Okay, so 5 rescue breaths. With a baby, infant, that first year, we actually make an effective seal with our mouth over baby's nose and mouth. We don't pinch a baby's nose, okay? So I put in 5 breaths whilst keeping the head slightly tilted back in that open airway position. So. Five breaths. Time for those is about roughly 1 second. I don't know if you notice, between my breaths, I turn my head to the side. It just gives me a good rate, because when you're panicked, what you find some people might do is, okay, or also in their panic, fill up their lungs. This baby needs oxygen, and, okay, you're not going to make them pop, but it's not ideal. If you think about the size of their lungs and the size of ours, all we need to do is take the amount of air that fills our mouth, and that's what we need to put into baby. If you can look along the line of baby's chest and see the chest rising out the corner of your eye, when the chest rises up and stops getting any higher, stop breathing in and it will fall down. Obviously, if there was an obstruction there, you might not be seeing the chest rising, but I'll talk about that a bit more when we talk about choking. Okay, so I've done 5 rescue breaths on my baby, so I'm now going to start normal CPR. Normal CPR is 30 chest compressions, followed by 2 ventilations, okay, 2 more breaths, okay. We don't stop after we've done those 5 rescue breaths, unless obviously our casualties show signs of life, and coughing, sputtering, purposefully opening their eyes and breathing normally on their own. So if none of that happened, we'd go straight into our chest compressions. Okay, chest compressions, that's here, jungle. Chest compressions on a baby. Again, for those of you who haven't done any first aid before, without even realising it, you know this. You know those 2 hands, because you've seen it on Die Hard with a Vengeance or some Colby City. 2 hands is absolutely fine if you're an adult casualty, but not what we would ever want to use for a baby, okay? With a baby, our chest compressions are done with just 2 fingers of one hand in the centre of baby's chest. It's basically between baby's nipples, but as this little one is, there's quite a lot of clothing, and I wouldn't be undressing baby now to try and find out where the tiny little nipples are. One way of always kind of making sure you're in the right position, centre line of baby's body. Use the armpits as a marker, come in, X marks the spot, okay? This is where your fingers need to be. So 2 fingers in the centre of our baby's chest. The rate of compression, so how fast we need to be doing these compressions, is about 100 to 120 per minute, which is basically about 2 a second. The depth of compression, this is the hard bit. You never want to be depressing a baby's chest, but we need to do CPR, and the idea of hurting them or causing them further harm is always going to be in our mind. But in this situation, how much worse can we make this situation? We need to depress the chest roughly about 4 centimetres for a baby. Using our 2 fingers in the centre of the chest, we're doing 30 chest compressions at a rate of about 2 a second, something like this. This is kind of speed we're looking for. In your panic, carrying out these chest compressions, thinking about everything else, scared that no one's come to help, you may have lost count or not started counting even. 30's great, 30's ideal, but if it was 28 or 35, it wouldn't matter either. What would matter most is if you weren't doing anything at all. I don't want to give you any nasty horror stories about babies who are dying, but a really true and interesting statistic is for every minute you have an unconscious casualty who's not breathing on their own, their life distinguishes by 20%. So after 5 minutes of you screaming, shouting and crying, or perhaps waiting for the professionals, that's it. Even if you didn't get this 100% perfectly right, doing something is always better than doing nothing at all.
So what if they've got like blood or vomit or something over their mouth and you don't really want to?
If you don't want to, we would just stick to chest compressions.
Right.
As I said, ventilations are important, especially with infants, and a lot of time adults are more than happy to kind of wipe a bit of a sick away when it's a baby sick, but if you didn't want to, you'd never be forced into that situation. So even doing just chest compressions only is still better than doing nothing at all. Okay, so I did my 5 rescue breaths, I've done my 30 chest compressions, I've gone back to 2 more ventilations, I've done another 30, I've done another 2, I've done a third 30 and a third 2. 3 cycles of my 30 to 2 after my initial 5 rescue breaths would take me about a minute, okay? That is when, if help hadn't come and you hadn't managed to call the ambulance at the very start of when you found your child to be unresponsive, is when you'd go and call for an ambulance. The decision can be you run, get your phone and bring it back. These days our mobile phones come with us, put them on speaker. If you did want to pick baby up and take them with you to the phone, that would also be okay, but just being very careful that in your panic you do not fall down the stairs or cause any mental harm, so the decision has to be yours with that. But as soon as you've got the ambulance on the way, or the emergency service on the way, obviously getting the information this is a baby casualty, an infant casualty that is not breathing, does pretty much stick you at the top of the priority list, okay, for help. So once you've got the information over, you would come back and you would carry on with your 30 chest compressions and your 2 ventilations until help arrived, okay? They would stay on the phone to you, they would keep reassuring you, they would also keep reminding you how fast, how many and how deep, and encouraging you to keep going. You're doing a wonderful job, because you would be as long as you weren't doing nothing at all, okay? So the only other time you would stop CPR is if your casualty started making real definite signs of coughing, spluttering, opening their mouth and breathing purposely, breathing normally on their own. Other than that, you would just keep going if you are physically able to. Hopefully, being in a situation like this, you will never be on your own for too long without emergency help being able to come to you, okay? If there was someone who was willing to help you, obviously you can take turns, but adrenaline is a wonderful thing and it kicks in and hopefully it would keep you going in that situation. So, any questions on that bit? Yes, Carly?
If while you're doing all of this, they vomit, is that a sign that they're going to start breathing?
It could be. It could be.
Okay.
Obviously, if they did vomit, that's another thing. Why, if you do your mouth to mouth and you turn your head to the side, it's much better if you vomited into the side of your face than right into your mouth. But obviously, you would do a check. You would check to see if that meant that perhaps they'd start breathing. But it's never. People don't sneakily start breathing again. That's why we only do that 1 10-second check at the start. We don't do a bit of CPR and then kind of check for breathing, because it's not like they started breathing. It would be a big show.
Oh, okay.
You would know that. Okay, so getting help, as I mentioned before, shout for help when you find your casualty to be unresponsive. If they are not breathing or not breathing normally and you are on your own, carry out 1 minute of basic life support, which is 5 rescue breaths followed by 30 to 2 3 times, done at that rate of about 2 a second with our chest compressions and 1 a second with our breaths, okay? Then after that 1 minute we would go and dial 999 and return to our casualty as quickly as possible and continue with our 30 to 2, okay, until help arrives. Obviously if there's someone with you, as soon as you've established you'll have an unconscious non-breathing baby, you would send them off for help, and then you wouldn't stop after your 3 cycles, you would just keep going, okay? Just final thoughts there. If you start CPR, the patient may or may not be successfully resuscitated. However, if you do not start CPR, their chances diminish by 20% per minute, okay? don't let your CPR skills get rusty. Someone who loves life may well depend on it, okay? Or a bystander, anyone. We'd like to think we'd be willing to help anybody. So does anyone have any questions on that section? I don't know how much time I'm taking up. Okay, it would be great if any of you are willing to come and have a go on the mannequins. I'd love to see you guys have a bit of a go on the dummies if you're willing to. So that one. Okay. Come and make yourself some space on the floor, please. Oh, manage to turn them on. Okay, please mind the wires.
Take one of these?
Yes, please. I have cleaned them. If anyone feels that they would like to clean them further, they are more. Excellent.
Right.
Okay, so down on the floor, somewhere comfortable, somewhere you feel safe with your casualty. What's our first consideration? This is not just for those who are helping with the demonstration. Any of you can join in with this. What's the first thing we're thinking about?
Checking the
Danger.
Brilliant. That's it. Our danger check. Who's most important? First consideration. Danger to who?
To us.
Absolutely. Then danger to who? Next.
Casualty.
Absolutely. So, is the area safe? Can you treat the casualty where you find them? Then, after response, how is it safe to get a response from a baby?
Shout.
Could I have a show?
Yeah.
That'd be fabulous.
Like baby, baby.
Anything else? Anyone else to tell me what's
Blow
good?
in their face.
Brilliant, blowing in their face. Fantastic.
Slap and
Oh yeah, tap the.
Yeah, tickling, not tapping the feet, because we don't want to shake our baby. Not the typical shake and shout that we would use in more adult first aid. Okay, now giving an airway. How would we give an airway with a baby, and what's it really important to remember?
Not to overextend
Brilliant.
the.
So head lift, chin tilt, that sniff of the air, whatever you like to call it, but making sure you do keep your hands on, because then the person's not going, oh, you put my head there, I'll keep it there. If you let go, they're going to relax down. I say. So when you've got the airway open, we then check for our
breathing.
brilliant. How we do it? All perfect. We are looking, listening, and feeling for normal breathing for how long?
10
seconds.
Fabulous. Okay. If our casualty isn't breathing properly, they don't have circulation. So that's what CPR does. CPR provides a body with circulation. Okay. So with our infant or baby CPR, being remembering that we've already shouted for help when our baby was unconscious and nobody has come, and our phone is downstairs charging in the kitchen, and we're upstairs in our bedroom. Okay. So first thing of baby CPR is what?
Breathing the 5 breaths.
How do we do our breaths? You might think it's
Over
different to
the nose.
yeah,
I
we
don't
don't
know
pinch.
so
No, we don't pinch the nose really. So we just don't get as much of an effective seal because they're so small. If you're trying to pinch the nose and get your mouth over their mouth,
Yeah.
probably what you're finding is all the air is escaping out the side of your mouth. We want to make this as effective as possible. So mouth over nose, mouth. Remember, with the head still tilted back, supporting that position, and we give 5 rescue breaths. If you guys would like to demonstrate those, would be fantastic. 1 second, perfect. Turning head, great. Okay, after our 5 rescue breaths, what's the next part of CPR?
Chest compression.
Brilliant. What's a good way to find the position? I know we was roughly in the middle, but if you're
Line
and underarm.
I would never undress a child if I was going to start this, but if they were in a snowsuit or a really thick coat, I would take 2 seconds just to open that up. But we don't need to fully take it off, just to have to expose the chest. It doesn't have to be a naked chest. So 2 fingers just for our baby. 2 fingers, 1 hand. I always keep my other hand out of the way, because what you have sometimes with people, because that ingrained 2 hands, some people even want to try and do this, 2 fingers of 2 hands, but it's just 2 fingers of 1 hand. Also, we don't need to force the airway open. While we're doing chest compressions, we just want to focus on those chest compressions, so no need to hold the head back, just focus on your chest compressions. So, can I have a go of your chest compression? Let's see.
Yeah.
How fast are we doing these, guys?
2 per second.
Roughly 2 a second, and how deep are we trying to press the chest?
44
centimetres.
Okay, and we're doing 30. Brilliant. Excellent, well done guys, fantastic job. After we've done our 30 chest compressions, what's next?
2 breaths.
2 more breaths. And when we do the breaths, we must remember to
Tilt
tilt
the
that
head.
head back again, open up the airways, it might be elastic. Okay. Make sure you tilt the head, brilliant. Guys.
And it's
Excellent.
over mouth and
Mouth and nose, okay? And then you go straight back in, okay? If you are on your own, you haven't managed to call an ambulance and no one has come to your call for help, how long would you do this for?
1 minute.
How would you time that minute?
32, 32,
3
32.
seconds.
Yeah, after your initial 5 breaths. Then you would go for help and you would come back and keep going, okay?
Yeah.
Anybody, any more questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for taking
Thank
part. That's excellent. Thank you very much.
Well done.